Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're new to this series, let me tell you how it works. I listen to albums throughout the week, some new ones and some older albums. I pick the ones I want to give my opinion on and review them in this video. Remember, my opinion is mine and mine only, and you may have a different opinion, so don't take anything I say too seriously. Now let's head on to the first album of today's video. Also, I'm using my PlayStation controller mic because I think this one sounds better than my headset, and the intro is different because that one has music and I review music. Yeah. The first album of today's video will be A Kid Named Cudi by Kid Cudi. This album was okay for me. It felt a lot more in the middle. There were some good songs, but it was still an okay album for myself. This album had one standout song, and of course it was Day and Night. And so this is the first week that I'm starting to listen to Kid Cudi's music. It's also the same week he announced that he's retiring from music. So that's low-key a W for me, because then that means I don't have to rush through his shit because he might be releasing soon. But that also sucks because apparently a lot of his future albums are very good. I don't know, I'll figure out when I get there, but this album, it was okay for me. It's just the one standout song of Day and Night. Next is Lulu by Conway the Machine and The Alchemist. This album had very good production, and low-key I feel like the production by The Alchemist carried the entire album a lot. I didn't have no standout songs as Conway. I'm not saying he was bad at singing, he had bad flow or anything like that. I just feel like this album was heavily carried by the production done by The Alchemist. Next is Alfredo by The Alchemist and Freddie Gibbs. I was so excited to listen to this album, and I've heard the second one that released earlier this year, and it was amazing. And the first one did not disappoint at all. This was a beautiful album, great production, great features, and Freddie Gibbs did amazing on all of the songs. My standout songs are Something to Rap About and Skinny Sudge. Next is The Razor's Edge by AC/DC, and this album was amazing. I enjoyed so many of the songs on this album. It had many good songs on it. The beats were amazing, and many of the songs and also many of the guitar solos are also very good on this album. And this album was a a possible selection for standout album of the week, but did not get chosen. You'll figure out which ones got chosen at the end. If you haven't heard this album yet, please do yourself a favor and go listen to this album. My standout songs are Thunderstruck, Money Talks, The Razor's Edge, Are You Ready, and Shot of Love. And online, I know this album gets a lot of hate. I think you're all wrong. Next, as promised from last week, is Rauw Alejandro's Cosa Nuestra, Capitulo 0. So after the deep listen of this album, my opinion has changed. This album is the best Hispanic album of the year. The only album I could see beating this album is Bad Bunny's album that he released earlier this year, Debía Tomar Más Fotos. And I can't lie to you, there are no standout songs for me on this album due to the fact that I like every single song on this album. They were all amazing except for two. Hold up, I'm opening my notebook trying to see if I could find it. Wait. So yeah, okay, so except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there are 5 songs that didn't stand out to me, but pretty much this entire album was great. If you haven't heard this album yet, go listen to it. If I genuinely believe that the only thing that comes close to this album, the only album that could beat this album in terms of Hispanic album of the year, is definitely Bad Bunny's DTMF. But if Bad Bunny didn't release DTMF, this would definitely be the album of the year Hispanic music for 2025. Next is Alternative Trap by LUCKI, and this album had many good production. Many of the songs were great listens, and this album was a very nice listen, if that makes sense to anyone. On the song Love It, he also had amazing flow, and Perfect Outro was a perfect ending song for this album. I had 2 standout songs, and they were Interest and Count on Me. Next is The Life of a Showgirl by Taylor Swift. So I do plan to come back next week with a deeper-ish review because I didn't really enjoy the first listen of this album. The album felt okay at best, and definitely not something I would go out of my way to listen to again outside this outside this series. I also do see where some people might like this album, but this definitely is not something I would listen to again. And I've also seen some people online, and this also has been Taylor Swift's most, badly received album. right? Of course, I could just be looking at the wrong side. Maybe people are glazing this album, but from everything I've seen online, this album has not been received well by anyone. Next is Sincerely PS by Kali Uchis. And oh my gosh, this album was amazing. Just like the Taylor album, I will be back next week with a deeper-ish review. This was a beautiful album, and if you didn't listen to it yet, do yourself the favor and go listen to this album. It was a almost an hour-long album, but it is definitely worth it. The songs were great. She sounded great. Production was great. But I do plan to come back next week with a deeper-ish review. Also, online, I haven't seen much people talk about this album, so I don't know if this was a surprise drop or anything. I could be completely wrong, but I just haven't seen anyone talk about this album online. Maybe it's just like the Taylor Swift album. Maybe I'm just looking at all the wrong ways, but I've seen nothing online about this album. Next, and the final album of today's video is BoyWithUke B-side by BoyWithUke. This album was amazing, and I hate the fact that it took me so long to realize that he dropped another album. So some backstory for those of you who don't know him: he pretty much retired this character, the BoyWithUke character, and went back to his real name. I can't remember off the top of my head, but pretty much BoyWithUke character was done. There was supposed to be no more albums. The last album under the character was supposed to be Burnout, but I am happy he did decide to drop this album, but I just wish I knew about it sooner, so then that way I could have hit you guys with a double review, because I like doing these. The production was great. It had many great songs. And I have 4 standout songs, and they are Friends, Overthinking, Green, and Hopeless Romantic. And that is it. So, yes, this video so far, of course I have to yap it for a couple minutes, right, but so far I did finish reviewing in under 10 minutes. I reviewed 8 albums, if I can count correctly. So something I'm going to start doing is I'm going to try to speak a lot more faster and try to get these videos in a lot shorter way, because I'm realizing that even though YouTube is for fun, even though these videos are for fun, it would be nice if I could make some money on the side from these, right? But people don't watch this all the way, and I went back to watch some of the older ones to try and change some things up. And there was 2 things I realized pretty much. I just sounded too robotic. I know I probably still sounded robotic in this video. I'm going to try and change this up, but I don't know how to yet. And 2, it just went on so long. Like, some of these reviews did not have to go so long. Like, I would always stop reading this. I could tell when I stopped reading the script. I did that in this video, yes. But what I did first is finish reading the script before I yapped, right? And I'm trying to think what else I was gonna say. Oh my god, I should have given myself cliff notes. Okay, first, here are the honorable mentions of today's video. There are a couple. It is The Price of Tea in China by Baldy James and The Alchemist, A Doctor, a Painter, and an Alchemist Walk into a Bar by The Alchemist, Boat Breaker by AC/DC, Stiff Upper Lip by AC/DC, Body High by LUCKI, Man on the Moon by Kid Cudi, About Time by Connor Price, Another Night by 03 Greedo. This one I will come back next week, hopefully, maybe, right, because the first listen, this album is super short, but the first listen I just wasn't really interested. And the last honorable mention for today's video is X by LUCKI. And here are my standout albums of the week. And the first one for this week goes to Cosa Nuestra, Capitulo by Rauw Alejandro. This album was amazing. I loved every single one of the songs. Pretty much all of the songs stood out to me. Pretty much this entire album either made it to my main playlist or to my secondary playlist. Like I said, this is an album you should definitely go listen to. The only album that can possibly beat this album in good music for Hispanic music this year is DTMF by Bad Bunny, but nothing else comes close to this album. Of course, we still have the rest of October, November, and December. Apparently Junior H is supposed to drop at some point this year, so he could potentially cook up something nice, but I don't think that'll happen, respectfully. I don't think he'll be able to make us something as good as DTMF or Cosa Nuestra. And the second album for this week is Alfredo by Freddie, Gibbs, and The Alchemist. So this album, just like Alfredo 2, it was incredible. Freddie Gibbs went crazy on Alfredo 1. This is an album I wish I found sooner, but it was released back in 2020. I was 13, maybe 14? I don't know, I suck with math, so don't look at me, right? But Obviously, this album was great. I'm happy that I did eventually come listen to it. I liked all of the songs. Of course, I only had two standout songs, but pretty much every single song on here had some type of review. This album was great. If you haven't listened to this album, listen to it. Right? If you heard Alfredo too, but haven't heard the original Alfredo, go listen to it. This one is a lot shorter. It is only 35 minutes. And it's definitely worth those 35 minutes. The Alchemist, an amazing producer. Freddie Gibbs went amazing. Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist together on the same album, they will cook you something nice every single time. And if anything, these guys should already be working on Alfredo 3 because, oh my god, I would need that right now. Now we are done. Honorable mentions done. Standout albums of the week are done. Of course, if you don't know how standout albums of the week work, I probably should have done that earlier, but whatever. I pretty much just select one or two albums, nothing more, nothing less. If you heard me mention honorable mention for an album earlier for standout of the week, that's because it didn't get picked. I'm not gonna go back and explain why. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else I need to do before I explain honorable mentions? Oh, an album I was supposed to review, but I didn't. So, the Young Thug album, right? So, this week I heard 17 albums. And of course, I'm uploading this on a Sunday and I have the safety net of Monday. But I just didn't want to listen to it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't want to listen to it. Like the entire time, I was just dragging it. When I found out that both Connor Price and BoyWithUke dropped, I was like, oh, I'll listen to these two first and then the Young Thug. Then I found out that 03 Gritty, I don't know who this guy is, but I just saw it was a new album that dropped during, Friday. I was like, oh, sure, I'll add this, and after then I'll go listen to the Young Thug album. I never did. Sunday came, that's today. I watched the Raiders get bent over, lose 6-40 to the Indianapolis Colts. Yippee. And I just didn't, right? Look, at the end of the day, this is my series, my rules, my shit. No one's really watches these. No one's really a fan of these yet, right? But it wasn't something I enjoyed listening to the first time. So I was dreading listening to it the second time. And then it is a pretty long album. And by pretty long, I mean very long album because it is an hour 15 minutes. So it was something I was dreading. I don't remember what album it was, but I'm about to explain the honorable mentions. But there was an album I listened to that was 2 hours, and I'd much rather listen to that album again than Young Thug's album. This album was mid. You're not getting a follow-up, and I'm not sorry. Alright, now let me explain the honorable mentions. Give me a second. So The Price of Tea and China by Baldy James on The Alchemist. Pretty much the only reason this one ended up on honorable mentions was because it was a 50-50 album. I liked 50% of the songs I had an opinion about, and the other 50 I was neutral about them. A doctor, painter, and an alchemist walking into a bar by The Alchemist. It was a instrumental album all the way except for Stained Glass. That one did have... I forgot the guy's name, but it had a guy singing on it, and the singing was terrible. But yeah, if you were to remove this song, this would be a perfect instrumental album. I don't review instrumental albums because I'm not that much I'm not a producer, so I can't explain to you about anything. Next, Man on the Moon, The End of Day by Kid Cudi. Wait, was this on the honorable mentions? It was. So this is the 2-hour album I was talking about. So a majority of these songs I just had no opinion, felt neutral about them, which is why it landed on here. But it did have a standout song, Day and Night. It was like a remixed version and I liked it, but that was the only standout song from that. It is a 2-hour album as well. So by the end of the album I was like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? Because it did take up a lot of time. Next, Ball Breaker by AC/DC. This was an hour-long album, but I only had an opinion about 4 of the songs, and it was just mainly because I enjoyed the beats. Nothing else. Didn't really enjoy this album to the most. Next was Stiff Upper Lip by AC/DC. Same thing as the previous one, just not much for me to enjoy. I didn't enjoy it as much. Only very few of the songs I had an opinion about. Body High by LUCKI. it's very similar to AC/DC. I just felt neutral about most of them, and I'm starting to realize that with Lucky, that might be a problem I'm running into where I feel neutral, because I'm not. The songs aren't bad, they're not good. My opinion, of course, but you know, I'm just really neutral, and I'm obviously not going to review an album that I just feel neutral about. That's Taylor's album, About Time by Connor Price. This just ended up being a 50-50 album. 50% of the songs I felt neutral, no opinion about. The other 50 I had an opinion, and I'm not going to review an album like that because it doesn't give me like enough breathing space. Another Night by Zero O Grito. Like I said, this album will get a part 2 next week, maybe. But and the reason it ended up you know, honorable mention was, like I said, I didn't really enjoy it. I don't know who this artist is, so that's probably the reason why I also, you know, didn't really enjoy it. Maybe his other music's like this. I'll check him out at some point. I will be back next week. This album only is 23 minutes long, so it's not like the Young Thug album where it'll take up a long time. So I will come back with this one. And then X by Lucky, like I said earlier, it's a problem that I'm running into where I just feel like 50% of the songs neutral, other 50 an opinion, and I'm never gonna review something like that. Wow. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to follow all my social medias. My Instagram should be down there. I don't know, so stuff should be down there. But yeah, go check them out, and I'll see you all in the next video. Good night. And practice your running, man.